Yes,
Shall I start?
I guess so.
Okay, so thanks everyone for joining me for the lecture and the workshop. Just to introduce myself very shortly, because almost all of you know me. I'm a visual artist based in Turkey, and somehow this year I'm connected to Unlearned Network Festival, which is a great experience for me. And I'm mostly working around, like how I can avoid this anthropocentric thinking, still being a human, inevitably, like trying to mix this uh, very human nature, the nature inside and the nature outside, or anthropological observations, but on the other hand, the wilderness observations on the same platform. This is what my practice is basically around. And whatever we think, inevitably stays or remains not human centric, but because it comes from a human mind, it stays speculative by its nature. So this is how I'm connected to speculative realisms and speculative aesthetics in a sense. I will also include a couple of my works, just to support visually what I'm trying to say here. So let me start the lecture. So knowing is an illusion, and knowing as an illusion. Actually, knowing is much more ambitious to me. So alternatively, I also wanted to use as, uh, combining the act of knowing and illusion together. And in this lecture, actually, I will be trying to explain why I think knowing could be an illusion and how we can break this illusion. And the concepts, water, truth, and egg, will also be explained in the end of the lecture in terms of why I picked these very ordinary concepts. So there is a saying which I really appreciate: too much information kills poetry. This is one of the entry points while I was thinking about this lecture and while I was preparing for it. Um, Also somehow related to the idea of post-digital ignorance. And here, the workshop or the lab work will be a research-based creativity project. And what I'm interested in is, the birth, transmission, and consumption of knowledge via digital platforms. And the focus will be on the aesthetics, on how we can create the aesthetics of cumulative nature of information, which is unlearned and relearned in a, you know, holistic, experience-oriented, and democratic manner. These days, probably you also have the same feeling, especially with the pandemic. I always keep myself, I always find myself questioning, is it really like that, or am I perceiving it this day? There is some sort of alienation that comes from this fast and huge information flow all around me. And fact checking can be an issue also. Sometimes I find myself too lazy to make fact checking, to question the accuracy value of the information that's around me. So this is why I thought this unlearning and relearning practice could be a good concentration on the question, is it really like this, or is it how I perceive it? Like this dichotomy between perception and reality, or in other words, subjectivity and objectivity. And this dichotomy for sure is enhanced by the digital culture. So the interests and concerns within this lecture will be information assimilation overload and post-truth culture. And here, desensitization through facts or to facts is like a side effect of this information assimilation overload, which I observe in my life and in other people's lives. And unlearn, relearn to avoid human-centric thinking. We will also look at these terms briefly, what they mean and what we are trying to do. And humanities in collaboration with computational thinking. this is another point or another layer that combines the whole thing, and avoiding binarism of information and feeling, in other words, facts and imagination. And outcomes of the lab work, hopefully with the intervention of all of you, and creating an alternative non-defining web-based dictionary that I will try to create. Actually, non-defining is like the art project part of this dictionary for me, because it won't be a proper dictionary, you know, like uh, it will include objective information. This is the this is the main target of this workshop. But on the other hand, non-defining speaks very much to the idea of unlearn and relearn to me. This is why I decided to call it non-defining dictionary, and hopefully a body of work that is inspired by the gathered, clean, unlearned and relearned information. So another question. I always appreciate moving with questions. So is it possible to know improper meaning without experiencing and feeling? Uh, and in essence, could unlearning help us find the emotive aspects of information? And by unlearning and relearning, can we avoid the alienating power of information overload to the facts? But why? Why do I keep, questioning these topics? And, with some existentialist concerns for a lived, authentic life that is experienced through uh, accurate information. But here, what I'm suggesting by unlearn, it is not to forget all the human information or information accumulation of human history. Of course, we need information. For example, this mushroom. We are not prehistoric people. Uh, if we just, confront dangerous species like this guy, dead cap mushroom, Amanita phallodes, we can use, encyclopedias, or nowadays we have apps that help us define this species around us, so that we know that it can be poisonous and it can be fatal. And of course, we need information. Not everything has to come from experience. If we experience, if this mushroom would be deadly or not, probably we won't be able to experience any other things in life. So let's dig deeper into the subjects and have a look at the terminology. The first topic is the emotions and information, and I think this is a binary to be avoided, because when we say information, it speaks very much to the rigid rationalism as a source of information. But what about the emotions? What about the feelings in gathering information or processing information in our minds? Why did I ask this question to myself? Because psychiatrist Antonio Damasio, in his book Descartes' Error, mentions an experiment that they conducted with his co-researchers. And this research was on patients with serious frontal brain damage. And as a result of this experiment, uh, he claims the patients who recovered from this frontal brain damage have no problems conducting their cognitive processes. They can make decisions cognitively, but they developed apathy, sense of, or some sort of desensitization to facts, what is going on around them. And hence, they cannot make important decisions about their lives due to the lack of feeling. I think there is a serious content in it in terms of the, the emotive aspects of emotion and why they are important in conducting our lives. And epistemology, we use this word a lot. Since the topic of this workshop is unlearn, I also wanted to, avoid the wrong uses of the terminology. So epistemology basically means the philosophy of knowledge, where it comes from, the origins of information, and the scope of knowledge that we have. And sometimes in daily life, we also misuse these terms: data, information, knowledge. Even though the differences between these terms are not, uh, you know, uh, shortcuts, they inherently have different meanings. Data, for example, are individual facts that are out of context and have no meaning, ready to be interpreted by human mind, and they are usually difficult to understand. But also information and knowledge, if we confront them for the first time, can turn into new data for us as well, because every knowing experience starts from the beginning for each person. And information is a set of data in context with relevance to one or more people at a point in time or for a period of time. So it is data in context, but more than that, it also needs to be surrounded by or considered within a time frame. And knowledge is the cognitive part of information. It rather comes from experience or personal subjective associations in our minds. It is like the experienced information or personalized information within a more specific context. And this binary between the emotions and the information. According to Jack Danforth Wood and Gianpiero Pedriglieri, this stimuli simultaneously activate our cerebral cortex. This is where the information is cognitively processed, and amygdala, where our emotional reaction occurs. So we as human species basically approach through facts or the data in a dualistic way. This is inevitably by our nature, by our genetic design. But I think the problem is the segregative interpretation of these dualisms, like as in the case with men and women, homosexual and heterosexual, black and white, or uh, in our case, emotion and information. So, by genetic design, emotional reaction is the primary response of human brain to the outside reality for survival purposes. Everything starts with intuition and feeling, and then it travels through conceptualization and information as a combination of this process. Phenomenology, which was dominant in 20th century, also focuses on the link between subjectivity and objectivity. When we meet external reality, uh, it, it is mostly focused on the interlink between what subject thinks and also simultaneously what the object is. So they should be understood collectively. But this idea is extended by object-oriented ontology in 21st century, pioneered by Graham Harman, uh, claiming that there is a reality outside human perception, human cognition, even though we don't realize it. Actually, this is what most of the post-human philosophies are based on. And another duality, which is one of the main problems in the source of or in the cognition of information, rationalism and empiricism, or in other words, speculative nature of rationalism versus experimental nature of empiricism, or a priori or a posteriori nature of these two different schools. Rationalism tends to find the source of information in human minds rather than experience. And I think this could lead to a very human-centric interpretation of the world, because it puts human mind in the center of everything, in the center of information. Why Descartes actually proposed this idea in terms of not trusting senses, the sensory equipment of human, but also as a tool to control the passions, which he classified as wonder, love, hatred, desire, joy, and sadness. In a sense, this could be a good thing because passions could also be dangerous, but separating the feelings and the rigid information is also another danger for human-centric thinking. On the other hand, empiricism offers the source of information as experiment, sensory experience, interaction with the world, not the innate ideas in human mind. I think empiricism is more open to interpretation of the world beyond human values, even though it still considers very much about the subjectivity. And this is the question after all. Is it really possible to know without feeling and experiencing the phenomena? In other words, is knowing detached from feelings? So can we truly know something without experiencing it? Or is it just an illusion of knowing? And more specifically, speaking to the idea of this network festival, which is post-digital ignorance, could digital culture be supporting the segregative interpretation of the concept feeling duality or the information feeling duality? So actually, we will be searching for answers to these questions. And another topic in the terminology of this lecture is the digital information overload and desensitization to facts as a result of this information overload. So biologist Julian Huxley says the tempo of human evolution during the recorded human history is at least 100,000 times as rapid as that of pre-human evolution. And nowadays, maybe it's even more than that. With the introduction of computer technologies and the acceleration in knowledge gathering starting from 1950s, knowledge started to be a more powerful tool for not only us individually, but also for companies, for capitalism, for workforce. It even though it can be a good thing, because as knowledge grows, the power of humanity also grows if we are not following a human-centric pattern. But on the other hand, uh, it's a dilemma actually. It could also be a change in a bad way in terms of appreciating the world with only human terms. And the digital. So, as Levmanovich says, as one of the principles of new media or digital media, uh, cultural transcoding speaks very much to the idea of singularity for me, actually. So, it is basically how the culture, human culture, is evolved within the interaction of computer generated technologies or robots or machines, more in general. And an automation expert, John Dewalt, says the effects of the technological revolution we are living through will be deeper than any social change we have experienced before. Actually, the notion that we had a need to do this lecture, or you had a need to uh, join this lecture, or the organizers, creators of Amber Network Festival needed to make a series of events around post-digital ignorance speaks very much to this idea. Things are changing and we somehow need to respond to these changes and, in a sense, critically approach to them. The public image of knowledge. It actually grew or increased with the inclusion of mass media, social media, and mainstream culture supported by these. But here is another dilemma. As the knowledge has become more plentiful, it also turned out to be less permanent. And starting with the Industrial Revolution, the mass-produced products and also mass media nowadays within digital culture, mass-produced images are everywhere, even though they are not physical. And we are full of these coded images. They can be contextually or socially coded or individually coded, and also pre-engineered messages. But what do these coded messages do to our brains? In a culture of these instant and immediate images, of course, there is information access, legitimation of inaccurate or non-factual information via excessive digital participation, and also digital image as a form of desensitization to the facts. Alvin Toffler, who actually almost introduced unlearn, the idea of unlearn, to the academic world in his book Future Shock, talks about overstimulation, information overload, and data diversity. So according to him, our image of reality is distorted. This may explain why when we experience sensory overstimulation, we suffer confusion, a blurring of the line between illusion and reality. Senses and perception might be overwhelmed, and desensitization through facts occur. This is something that I always experience in my life since I started to use, Instagram and other forms of or other channels of social media. And as a part of my research, I had made this work and I wanted to share it with you to visually support my ideas. So this image on iPad screen is an image that of a blindfolded bull in a pit of blood. The photo is taken in 2015 in Istanbul, and the bull is trying to escape from being sacrificed in the feast of sacrifice in Turkey. And we just scroll down, scroll up, we forget the reality value of the image until the other year, until the same images are shared again. And within this lab work, actually, I came up with a great idea, which is Slav activism. Uh, this is actually, uh, posting about stuff on our social media without uh, taking actual or physical acts in real world. And this work speaks to this idea, and posting this digital image on Instagram and taking the HTML codes of this image, in a sense, going back to the command lines of the interface image, wanted to create a cathartic experience for the viewers so that um, they could establish a different connection with the image that they are looking at to avoid desensitization for facts that emotionally affect us. Or Instagram stories. So sometimes, this comes from daily experience. There are some common images that I shared. For example, in a day, in like a minute, you can see photos of cute cats, birthday celebrations. But the next image could be about animal torturing, and then vacations, and then maybe uh, violence against women. This is actually very common in Turkey these days, unfortunately. Uh, the mood shift is every 10 seconds, and the information renewal is also every 10 seconds, according to the time aspect ratio that Instagram allows us. I think this could be a problem. This could also be a source of desensitization through facts. Is our brain really ready to process such fast emotional and informational shifts? Personally, I don't think so. And Alvin Toffler again calls these information assimilation overloads. And it happens when information is coming too fast for a person to absorb and understand it. A certain amount of time is needed for information to be assimilated, and the delivery needs to match that assimilation rate. If we go a little bit more scientific, if we apply the scientific data for this, Herbert Franke, in his essay, A Cybernetic Approach to Aesthetics, uh, claims that human limit of receptivity is 16 bits second. And information theory, 1 bit is the information entropy of a binary random variable that is 0 or 1. So the information that is gained when the value of such a variable becomes known, it turns out to be a bit. And the information transmission rates of the senses for each sensory equipment that we have is, as you can see within this table. And I think the importance of visual arts or the popularity of visual arts also come from here. Because philosophically, when we look at things, the things, at least in non-quantum physics, uh, they are just not consumed by looking at them. But this is not the same for other senses. We sense things by consuming them. And according to this table, the human body sends 11 million bits per second to the brain for processing, yet the conscious mind seems to be able to process only 50 bits per second. This means a huge amount of the stimuli that comes to our sensory equipment is just trash. And these are some other works. I was questioning visually all these facts I was talking about. This is a corner. This is a work called Corner. So basically, I took a photo of the corner, uh, and again, with the same method, posted it on social media, taking the HTML codes as a physical block to the perception of the actual corner, created a window, but you could see through the window what is behind the conceptual block, I'm sorry, physical block, through the digital screen. So actually, this is an interplay between the advantages and disadvantages of digital media. It is sure that we can access information easily, we can share information, we care about what is going on all around the world via digital media. But on the other hand, we just think we know without experiencing, without feeling. And another work, Barefoot Walker. So this also integrates an actual soil uh, as a as a real form of physical reality. Also displays a video of fresh fresh green plants on the screen placed on the top of the soil. So this is also an interplay between the physical and the digital, and how actual perception or knowing the facts, gaining the information from experiencing is important. And to unlearn all of these, if we consider image as a mental symbol of external reality, we definitely need uncoded messages to acquire information from, using our own brains to avoid the culture of interfaces, automation, modularity, and templates. And the other topic is computational thinking and humanities and anthropocentrism. Human centrism, what does it mean? So, human centrism is basically the misbelief that human is superior to the living and non-living, non-human entities. Or, in other words, interpreting, transforming the world based solely on human needs, from a human-oriented perspective, imposing human values on other living and non-living organisms on Earth. Of course, we will interpret the world with human mind because we are part of the human species. But if we segregatively interpret the duality between subject and object, our language and our thinking systems cancel the innate truth of the object. And from a semiological perspective, this is the accepted, the most popular one by Saussure. Meaning is created in the process of signification. So when we say ek, this becomes signifier, and the signifier is the idea of ek. So this is how we make meanings. So inevitably, it is human-oriented, but it doesn't have to be human-centric. Some examples of human centrism. This is an illustration from the Book of Wisdom by Charles Dobowell, The Pyramid of Living. It situates human at the top of the hierarchical order among other entities. For example, rocks only exist, the est. Plants only exist and live, estate vivid, and animals only feel, scented. But human is placed as the only species with intellectual capacity, which is called intelligent. This is a superhuman-centric example. Or from our daily life, with the inclusion of digital culture. During the day, while I'm surfing on the internet, sometimes I come up with titles like that. 10 truly unique animals it is hard to believe actually exist. This is also a great example of human centrism. Because I don't see, because I don't experience, because they are not in our cities, or because they are located in different geographies, does not mean that they don't exist. So in a sarcastic way, this sounds so weird to me. Why wouldn't I believe they actually exist? And the digital culture and human centrism. Benjamin Bratton in University of California says, in contemporary popular culture, human-like characteristics like anger, jealousy, confusion, pride, avarice, desire, not to mention the cult alienation, are the most important ones to look out for. And this is an anthropocentric fallacy, which may contradict the implications of contemporary AI studies. Because we are also trying to understand artificial intelligence and other related technologies in human terms only. To avoid human centrism, and as he says, Copernican traumas that abolish the false centrality and absolute specialness of human thoughts and species being are the priceless accomplishments of human history. And when he says Copernican traumas, this means Copernicus' model of the universe, placing the sun in the center of the universe, kind of enabled or allowed humans to give up the holiness of earth, of the soil, of the seas, of water, of what we have naturally on earth. This is why he calls it Copernican traumas, as one of the landmarks of human-centric thinking. And the Turing test. Turing test suggests that if the interrogator usually cannot tell which is which one is human and which one is machine, and if the computer can successfully pass as human, then we cannot conclude for practical purposes that the computer is intelligent. And here is the question, can we expect a machine to pass human? Is it not possible for a machine to accept is it possible for us to accept a machine just as a machine without a hierarchical order between human and machine? So this is the question when I place computational thinking and humanities juxtaposed to each other. So, I mean, as I observe in digital art or in digital applications, coding is such a smart and precious thing to do. I always appreciate it. But what about the humanities? What about questioning if we are imposing human values on robots? This is something else. And for me, I'm personally not afraid of AI-related technologies and the development of them, but what I'm afraid of is the imposed human-centric thinking within computational thinking. If we consider it as an imitation, as a wanted, required imitation of human thinking, then it could be a problem if the machines imitate our human-centric thinking. And the post-truth culture, the last topic before unlearn. I hope I'm not bothering you with this information Lord. So post-truth culture is uh, centered around the problem of reality. What is real? And we can see the roots of this in ancient Greece, the contest of Xerxes and Parius. What is real and what is it? According to this, these two painters enter into a competition to see who is gonna make the most real-looking, most realist painting. And Xerxes draw some paints grapes that were so realistic that birds tried to eat. But on the other hand, Parius invites Xerxes to his studio to show his painting, and once Xerxes uh, attempts to uh, attempts to lift the curtain that he thinks covers the painting, he finds out that it is also a painting, not a curtain. It was a hyper-realistically made curtain. So, eventually, Parius, deceiving a man, wins the contest. And post-truth culture. After all this information about the information overload and how our brains can progress this information or process this information, post-truth culture becomes another problematic in digital culture. Actually, it is enhanced by the inclusion of digital culture. So it is by McIntyre introduced as relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. And here is the danger. It centralizes human thinking around what things actually are. How we interpret them becomes dominant to what they actually are. Globally, we are actually suffering the outcomes of this post-truth culture, politically, economically, and biologically. And in post-truth, in the merging point of post-truth and digital culture, shareability becomes the main concern rather than factuality, rather than the accuracy of information. And fake news. You can even find many fake news generator online. And deepfake. Going back to Duchamp's imaginary persona or imaginary female alter ego, Ross Levy, dated 1920, I think there is a link between this idea of deepfake and how he interprets these persona, or in other words, fake personalities. You can see many examples, Instagram accounts of non-existing people, or in art worlds, buying the copyrights of some animations and giving them economical freedom, etc. And deepfake is another topic to be questioned ethically. So what I observe with the post-truth culture, there is unmediated recording of evidence. This could be a bad side effect of post-truth culture. But on the other hand, it increases the democratization of information and the participation and the plurality, which is actually pretty good. But also, anti-elitist myths against left-wing uh, could also be developed in, in actually many countries all around the world these days. And algorithms as the best approximation of reality, it creates simultaneously trust and distrust for artificial intelligence. And fact-checking. In terms of fact-checking, I just ask myself, what do I do if I have no chance to experience the information, the source of the information, or where the information comes from? So journalism or academics are two important outlets for us to check the facts. But do we still trust them? You know, every day on the news, especially in Turkey, I can speak of Turkey about it. Like, there's a lot of plagiarism in even uh, famous academicians' academic works. So these kind of, uh, you know, take me to the question that, do I still trust journalism? Do I still trust to the academics? Also, journalism must be under the pressure of governments, or even in democratic societies, there might be some other political, economical manipulations and concerns. So these are some dilemmas in terms of my fact-checking process. And finally, unlearn. This is actually our main topic. So this is a small fun experiment I sometimes make with my students, and this is a polling questioning if they are there back to the class. And no, even though linguistically it says it rejects the idea of a factual thing, truth somehow unleashes itself. But in this case, digital media helps us access the truth. So what I'm suggesting here is not a harsh critique of digital media, but questioning the uh, side effects, the negative side effects of digital media. And what is unlearned and how it can help fixing the broken human nature relationship. So, as Ken Spring, professor of sociology, says, we are the designs of our designs. We are the designs of the ones who came before us. We are inclined to accept the ideas that prove our current beliefs. This is a very basic human instinct to like, feel closer, or appreciate things that we know before. But when we confront new data, new facts, then our brain uh, has this survival instinct to question the new data before processing it. But most of the time, we follow the patterns that we are pre-given, and actually, this is a form of alienation to our true selves. And we act without questioning if they are factually true or false. But from an existentialist standpoint, we should somehow take the responsibility of who we are, and unlearn helps us in terms of finding our own first-hand relationship with nature and with social phenomena. And according to Ken Spring, learning is a cycle that includes unlearning, learning, unlearning, and relearning. And in learning, we grab what's most convenient for us. We memorize, we regurgitate, and we remember it. We put it in our storage. So unlearning is about breaking our alienation or detachment from actual experience. It is a cycle between building, updating, and rebuilding. What does it do? If we unlearn things, if we could achieve this, which is a hard process, which I'm also trying to apply in my life, it brings a shift in perspective. It is transformative personally. It brings flexibility. It brings adaptability, and it provides engagement in the reflexivity of the process of things in life. And how do we unlearn? We take the inventory of thoughts and seek understanding of what counters our thinking. This is basically how we unlearn, trying to understand and questioning everything we think we know. And as futurist Alvin Toffler, again, to quote him, he says, the illiterate of 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. According to Miles Sorson, unlearn is almost identical with rewilding, and it means to rewild necessarily means the understanding and unlearning our conditioning, the cultural programming that determines how we see and interact with the world. And knowing an unmediated reality based on real life interaction, the first hand experience, empathy, and questioning uh, including all these terms, unless becomes a necessary part of breaking the alienation. According to him, unlearning experience was being alone in nature and reconsidering his relationship to nature, to society, and to his actual self. But this doesn't have to be the same way for all of us. And some other forms of unlearning we can come up with in different cultures. For example, vow of silence or social media diet. This could be some other forms of unlearning as well. So, not simulation, but experience, fact checking, true remembering as a process of unlearning and relearning is what we are trying to do here with this workshop, which I will explain very soon. And this is in order to overcome the fears of being desensitized through digitized image that represents real life. And some examples of unlearn. Aesthetic, for example. Many people use aesthetic word as the word aesthetic in the same meaning as beautiful, but it actually doesn't mean beautiful. It is a misused and mislearned pattern. So it comes from, etymologically, it comes from the Greek word aesthetikos, and it means related to perception by the senses. So what you consider ugly also has its own aesthetics. Slums. Slums also have their own aesthetics. Skyscrapers, they also have their own aesthetics. A couple of days ago, I was trying to remember a name of a movie, Happy Together, which is one of my favorite movies. And I typed some keywords, gay movie, Korea, Argentina. It's about a gay couple in the process of separation, actually, who is who has traveled to Argentina, and the story is based in Argentina. But when I Googled avoiding the word gay using the tags, movie, Korea, Argentina, separation, love, story, it didn't come up with the result. It didn't, Google didn't bring me the demanded movie title for me. So I think this is something to be unlearned. Also, we as humans, we need to unlearn things individually, but on the other hand, algorithms also should be unlearned, I think, for a better information flow, for a more healthy information gathering. So including two gay characters, does it really make this movie a gay movie? This is a very popular and mainstream interpretation of the topic, actually. And another one is swastika. When we see a swastika symbol, we immediately think of Nazi symbolism, which was a co-national flag of Nazi Germany in 1933, and then became the sole national flag in 1935. So in Western world, especially in Europe, it turned out to be a symbol of anti-Semitism, racial purification for the Aryan race. So it has these evil associations in Western thinking. But this also is a symbol to be unlearned because in the Eastern world, in Eastern philosophy, it has uh, good connotations that speak to human spirituality. So let's look at the origins and the meaning in the world, of the symbol. So in Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism, it has some positive connotations. And in Sanskrit, it's a symbol of good luck and well-being. If we look at this image on the right, young drunk, left-facing swastika in Tibetan Buddhism means symbolizing indestructibility and eternity. As you can see, it originally has very good connotations. And some other examples all around the world. Sansui, an ancient Buddhist temple located in Tokyo, Japan. And Manji, Japanese name for swastika, and it represents qualities of peace, intelligence, and strength. And in Middle Ages, during Byzantium Empire, you can see the applications of the same symbol, swastika. And this is a product design from London in the beginning of 20th century, hard enamel. This has nothing to do with racism and fascism. And an example from Anatolia, Hachian San. It's also a symbol dating back to 5th century before Christmas, not only in Eastern world, but also in other cultures. Or an example from Niowa tribe, a Native American tribe. And this is a contemporary artwork by Attila Yakınol. And according to his statement, swastika is not a national symbol. It is seen in different geographies because kinds. And he hopes one day all humanity will unite with the magic of swastika. He works around unlearning the meanings of symbols, including swastika. And most of the information is taken from Wilson Thomas's book, Swastika, the earliest known symbol, and its migrations, with observations on the migration of certain industries in prehistoric times. It is a great book, a very old book, published before 1923. If you're interested in other meanings of swastika, you can also check it. I mean, since I'm talking about unlearning and accurate information, I felt like I need to share this information with you. And this is the end of the lecture. And here I would like to talk about the workshop and what I will ask you to do. And hopefully, if you could take part in this collective research with me, I would very much appreciate it. So why did I choose the concepts water, truth, and egg? Because they are strong metaphors loaded with symbolic meanings of life, the beginning of life, the fertility, and the base of life. Also, they are objects of ordinary usage in our lives. But, you know, we utilize them, we use them, we interact with them, but we never question deeper meanings or the scientific values of them, or object-oriented paradigms, innate values of them within themselves, other than using them, just using them. And the methodology. For this, I will ask you to have a certain state of mood or to approach the topic in order to create a certain state of mood. And what will you be researching? An unknown fact about it. This could be water or this could be egg. And independent from human perception and also based on observation, but also natural sciences and cultural connotations. So according to Paul J. Silver's knowledge emotions, if an information or if an textual or image knowledge within imagery is in between high novelty, complexity, and unfamiliarity, but also high ability to understand, it creates surprise and interest. And as a combination of this workshop for this collectively formed dictionary with collectively gathered information, we will try to be in these yellow fields. Try to create the emotions of surprise and interest. So here is our set of information and set of emotions. So, for example, you will be free to pick if you would like to join the act of researching for this workshop, I feel like 2 weeks would be enough. And what I would ask you to do is just to give me an hour within these 2 weeks to make a research on these topics. So if you pick fear, for example, you having fear inside artificially, or after you get the objective information, creating the sense of fear, searching for the information that will create sense of fear for you. You can take on these set of emotions into senses. Either approach the subject matter with fear, or approach the subject matter in order to be fearful about what you find out. So if you pick fear, you will make a research on science, which means natural sciences, actually, for objective information. This could be chemistry, this could be biology, this could be physics, this could be about quantum physics or other life sciences, subtopics of these life sciences. And again, here is all about the combinations. If you pick fear again, but if you are more interested in culture, this means you will try to find information that scares you. Uh, and the information is supposed to come from culture or social sciences. This could be anthropological information, this could be from psychology, this could be from psychiatry, or this could be from any other disciplines of humanities. And the same applies to hope, love, hate, and neutral. So another thing that I would ask you to consider is the semiological understandings, which means symbolic meanings attached in different cultures, including Western culture, not excluding, as Western culture does most of the time. And during your research, please also look at non-Western scholars and researchers as well. So this is actually the decolonial part of this workshop, because we are very much focused on the Western world, but we most of the time ignore what people are doing in the other parts of the world. And the results could be surprising and amazing, actually. So without disregarding Western culture's information accumulation, please also look at the non-Western cultures in your research for natural and social sciences. And this is the last slide. Here, if you are interested in joining, which would make me very happy if you could be a part of this, please find the combination that fits you well, and you can note down your name on this sheet. And this was the end of my presentation. Hope you are not bored, because this was a lot of information, I know. But if you have questions, or if you would like to discuss some topics, we can always do that.
Ozan, thank you very much. I have a question about the
Uh-huh.
last part because I didn't understand. Is it my own fear or the notion fear that we are looking for?
No, your own fear, because
Okay.
I'm looking for very subjective feelings. You know, this is the point, actually. Here, the attendants, the participants are from different cultures, from different countries, with different backgrounds, with different life experiences, and this is what we are looking for here. Not only us, but what fear, how fear translates into another culture. I mean, land doesn't mean the same thing for someone in Japan or someone in Turkey.
Yes.
Or water doesn't mean the same thing. This is why I said, like, the semiological understandings. So I would really appreciate your participation within this. So in this combination, you can just type your name in the field, in the intersections of fear and natural sciences, for example, or hope and natural sciences, or love and natural sciences. If you pick fear and natural sciences as an example, this means you will either approach your research with fear, or to get an information that will create fear for you. For example, water, fear, natural sciences. If this is your selection, if this is your intersection that you choose, Zeynep, then this means you can make a research on the water problems or water shortage in the future, you know, or probable water wars, or maybe the possibilities of a third world war starting with the shortage of water.
Yes,
Is
or
it?
drowning in the water.
Yeah, so here the aim is to combine information, the objective information and subjectivity, also the emotions and the rationalist take on of information. And also, you know, finding offbeat, unknown, less known, or misknown facts about water and egg. We will also go deeper into these concepts.
Okay.
And actually, the lecture was all about the theoretical background of this workshop, like the layers.
Prepared us to this.
Yeah, well, it was a surprise that I kept for the end.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you very much for listening. And again, like I would be very happy if you can find an area of your interest. We have two concepts, water and egg. And all you need to do is just to select an intersection of an emotion and the research field, type your name, and then making a small little research on the topic. And here you can send the results to my email address with the color, with the typographic choice that you make. You know, you please feel free to choose the typeface that you wanted while sending the email, the font size, because your choice of typography, your choice of visuals, your choice of typeface will also you know, help me creating this collective aesthetics. Also, the dictionary as a form of infographics, it will also help me translate what you are interested in, translate your individuality to the collective work.
Ozan, would you like us to send this to participants?
Here, they can type, I think, right?
They cannot.
Okay, so actually here,
I mean this table, like, would you like us like an Excel to send them and then send the replies back to you?
I think this could be more efficient. Maybe,
Yes.
you know, like maybe the participants might need some time to think about it. Or maybe if they have questions, like we can always interact afterwards.
Okay. Okay. I'll do that. So, is there any reactions, questions?
Or did I make you fall asleep?
I have.
You are now unmuted.
Hello, could you hear me?
Hello, Zaza.
Hello, sorry, I'm just a little bit new to this new system, which is not here. And okay, good. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you very much. It has been great listening to you and very interesting and confusing and head boiling, sure. And but there was something which I would like not to, it's not really a question, but something which I'm trying to figure out for myself, to digest all this flood of information which you have given to us. In the beginning, and there are two things which are for me at the moment very important. Somehow I was expecting you going through the sort of the quotations or quoting some of the guys from different fields of science and culture, etc. That you would also get to Deleuze, where I don't know if I'm quoting him now correctly, but there is this famous line of his, which was part of his lecture about cinema in 1970 something, and it goes something like the information is set of directives. When you are informed, you are told what to do. And that was for me somehow, when I came across to this quote of him, it was a very valuable thing at that time, and I re-listened then to this lecture. And so to connect now, somehow, is it the emotionality or emotions you started to talk about in the beginning? And I don't know, I'm just sharing my opinion and would like to hear what you think about this kind of approach. This quote by Deleuze has influenced me a lot. I mean, and so I don't own a television set since 15 or 17 years. I don't watch news. Of course, it sort of, invades my life. Do I want it or not? But in the talk about this flood of information and in this confused situation we are at the moment as human beings or individuals, somehow I started for me to think like, okay, where is the sort of a foundation where I could stand at least for a few minutes, which is like stable enough to hold my weight in a way. And thinking about this Deleuze sort of also kind of a directive. It's also indoctrination in a way when somebody tells you, when you are informed, you are being told what to do and what to think. And somehow for me personally, the emotional condition, which is at the moment in the context of, let's say, capitalistic world, which is seen something not usable, something which we need to sort of either eliminate, or we have to get a better hold of it or control it. All the psychiatric experiences, because I mean, it's clear that when I'm sad, I'm not good in producing, vases or glasses or tires. I'm producing less of that. So, but somehow I would like to know whether this feeling or emotions, which is somehow a true indicator for me personally, and maybe for some of others too, because they are non-rational. They are you cannot really express it. It's not. It's quite difficult to verbalize, but you feel it. You know it is good or not. And I would like to know, how do you think the emphasis on emotionality or emotions or feelings, as you are sort of calling them, are we gonna sort of shift our attention in this discourse slowly to that? And last thing, to summarize my confused all over the place comment, I'm sorry about that, is that at the moment when the science or scientists are sort of facing the wall in a way with the recent development and quantum physics, either they have to decline everything what they believed they thought was true, or they go with this new notion of physics. And among them, there are a few scientists, or I'm sort of seeing more and more scientists who are talking about the emotional knowledge or something. Some of them call it like some of them sort of shift into the religious understanding of God's question, etc., something like that. So they say, especially the quantum physics troubled scientists, they say we have to shift towards the emotions. That is the only knowledge at the moment which can lead us forward. And one more example, if I may, and then I finish. I love plants. I loved plants. I had a lot of plants. I killed all of them somehow. But I bought an encyclopedia from 1983 in Germany. And on each plant, you had like this little bit of information saying, and opposed to this, when you research on internet, how do you take care of whatever plant, you have enormous amount of information, and you have contradicting information, whereas you have to decide somehow what is true and which one is going to be the truthful. But somehow, looking at in this encyclopedia of 1984, I would read this little bit of text, and somehow it was a knowledge in this small bits of part of the information. So basically, the conclusion, if you agree with this conclusion that we are living in an inflational process of information, and information doesn't equal the knowledge, if you agree with that. Sorry, I was very long.
No, that's totally perfect, and thank you for your comments. I totally agree with you in terms of the quote from Deleuze. I heard it for the first time, and I'm influenced by it. Actually, there are like many researchers, many theoricians talking about alienation, and how alienating information can be, and also in information theories. So it is hard to include all of them, even with including a few names. It took like an hour, but I very much agree that information as a set of directives, you are told what to do. In terms of the emotions, I personally follow the idea that spirit and body, the transcendent and the immanent, the worldly, what is worldly, and also emotions and thinking, they come from the same place. I think they are the same thing. We are inclined to separate them and interpret them in this binary thinking system. This separation is not necessary. Actually, this is why I ask you to pick an intersection of the objective information and the feelings, because feelings, as you said, might be very deceitful, and the passions, that's very true, because they have nothing to do with rationality. You know, they are something outside the rational processes. We definitely need rational thinking as well, but what about the boundaries of rational thinking? My question is here. If we are stuck in rationalism, if we are obsessed with it, then we miss the experience part. We miss the feeling parts. I mean, COVID, for example, it is like the most common example these days. People are divided, into two parts: people who have COVID and people who haven't had COVID yet. I'm in the second group, and I don't know what COVID feels like. I'm always like, sometimes obsessively like thinking about, listening to myself, and keep asking myself if I have smell, if I have any side effects, if I'm COVID. And my friends who had the COVID always tell me, don't worry, you will understand if you have COVID, because it's a strange feeling to you. Because I don't know, I haven't felt it. You know what I mean? So the experience and feeling is also important, but also knowing beforehand, knowing accurately beforehand, to avoid for survival purposes. This is also important. I mean, if I know how to avoid COVID, I don't have to live it. This is also another thing. So here, the whole practice is all about balancing these two. and not separating them from one another. And also going back to your idea about integration of emotions and epistemology, I think I heard the term as well, but I couldn't find any resources yet to dig deeper into it. I think it is called epistemological sensation or epistemological affection or something like that. But I also need to search it. I'm quite interested in it. So thank you for your contribution. So we don't consist of emotions. We don't consist of rationalism, rational thinking. So how can we, rebuild our relationship with water and egg as symbols of other things in life? How can we get subjectively influenced objective information out of it? So this will be, yeah.
And do you also think that, let's split it very simplistically into knowing and feeling, that those two things are contradicting each other, or are they for you some sort of a binary rhythm of because according, for example, what I just thought back, according Proust, that's exactly what it is, because when you know, you don't feel, and when you feel, you don't know. And of course he analyzes and he puts it in the context of a love relationship to a person. And when we think back, I mean, when we go through breakup or something, the process when you stop feeling for a person, that is the moment when you don't love him anymore, and you are gone out of this sort of out of this thing. And do you think these contradictions can be brought together, or somehow what is your idea on how to approach these 2 points? I don't know.
Actually,
because you spoke about this in the beginning. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, actually, that's the main target. Not seeing them as two polar oppositions or necessarily contradictory terms, but how they can couple with each other. And love doesn't have to be necessarily for love with another, with another significant other. For the information, for example, approach to your research, I would like to find an information that will make me love it. Or I would like to find an information that will make me hopeful. Or I would like to get an information from social sciences about water that will make me fear about it. Or I also left a neutral part because human emotions are not limited to this. You can always, find your favorite emotion and make your research about it based on it. You are not limited with this. So there is very much of your subjectivity in it, but also from different researchers all around the world, from different information gathered from all around the world, we are trying to get this information which turns out to be new data for us, because every information when we first meet it is a new data for all of us, even though inherently it has turned into information in a cultural context. So you can find with this specific emotional mind, emotional state or state of mood, if you picked natural sciences, you can just think of, or in the search of misused information, misinformation, change the meaning, detach. You may consider that, okay, this thing is unknown or not known or misknown about water in chemistry, but let's correct it. Your approach could be like this, or you can find an information that will surprise you within these parameters. But while emailing you, I can also shortly introduce it again to you, so that again, like, I will be very happy if you can be a part of this research, like sharing only maybe a few hours in 2 weeks for me, and actually for all of us, for this dictionary, which will soon be hopefully on our platform's website as an archive of this workshop.
You are now unmuted.
But it would be then probably necessary for us to receive those slides or whatever documents in order to fill our information in.
Yeah.
And if you have some sort of a summarize, I don't remember now the slides before you showed on the screens, that you should send them as well, or if you have an additional information as an instruction for us how to go on with that, that would be also grateful, helpful for us. Otherwise, it feels like now another one is now collecting again data, you know, as if not enough.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we can do that. Like after the session ends, I can prepare it, this chart, this Excel chart, so that you can type your names, and also with the essential information about how to fill it and the presentation as well.
Right.
So thanks for reminding this.
Yes. So if there is no other contribution, it feels like you will say something, but you will say something, but you don't. I'm like, would you say something?
I like dramatic moments like. No,
Yes.
it was a very nice presentation. It really opens my mind and changed my way of thinking a little bit. Actually, the things that he mentioned, the Ozan mentioned, is also a part of my researches. So I really like it. So I want to say on thank you, but somebody is coming. Yeah, thank you for a nice presentation, and it's not boring. It's really nice. First, if I saw like 90 pages, and I say, what? It's too much. Then I didn't understand that it finished.
Oh, perfect. Good to hear this.
Yeah, thanks for a nice
Thanks.
presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, it was really a good presentation. It was really moving and good. So no way of boring.
Thanks.
And also it resonates with me about the point of hope. Lately, I'm concentrated on the subject or mood of hope in my work also. And when I saw that we have this kind of parallel way of approach in other ways, and these coincidences are always so beautiful. So I would like to be in touch and share more. Thank
Me
you.
too.
Nice.
Thank you for the feedback, and it's so good to hear that, you know, we are not walking alone in the field. Feels
Yeah.
good.
Hello, everyone. I also wanted to thank you, Ozan, for the event. I don't know how to call it. I have a small question, which is maybe side question. I don't know. Maybe it is not. Which is when you suggest that for like reaching out to already existing knowledge, it would be nice to think of like non-Western sources of information. then I question myself because it is also like very much present in my thought, like coming from Iran, living in Berlin. The condition evokes some kind of like, okay, maybe I should look back, like knowing how the knowledge structure works here, maybe specifically also in Germany. Then the question is, like, for example, in the cultures who have different ways of for like not even for formulating knowledge, like somehow accessing knowledge is not similar to West. How to reach out to those? And I'm saying it because particularly I observed that lots of references that you brought in were based on like West point of view.
Mhm.
It would be nice to, if you have something regarding that, it would be very helpful.
Okay, so like in terms of research methods, actually you can also be like very subjective in that, like any topic of interest of you, and also you can follow an academical research method or find your own method, like because here we are trying to unlearn things and relearn them in a way that we can have this original or authentic relationship with the others. And in terms of my references to the Western sources, you are right, but uh, I wanted to include, uh, the Eastern world or other cultures in my examples or in my direction of research. And unlearn, for example, like there are really very few books about it. It is being theorized only in terms of this business world or education life, but there is no implementations in the creative fields, and they are the only Western sources I could find. I mean, my aim is not to exclude Western knowledge, but also try to find alternatives to it. This was the goal. And like my examples, for example, unlearning the swastika example, like how Western culture interprets this, what are the connotations in Western culture that are hard to detach from our minds, in our minds, but also the interpretations in different cultures all around the world. Like within this given little time, like I wanted to include as much as I could do. But you are right, like for the other ones, definitely I will also look more at the other cultures, resources.
I mean, it is not to point at like what. Actually, it was more out of curiosity of asking you how you deal with it, because now it opened to other aspects of when we are dealing with it, with such notions artistically, or when we are dealing with them in a academic section. So there might be different kind of entries to those. And with the creative artistic entry, sometimes there are some hesitations because of all the questions around appropriation and like giving light to what in depth those things mean, whereas in academic somehow it is dealt in a more dry manner. So yeah, my question is, do you have any kind of like personal way of dealing with that, these two things beside each other, or parallel, or
Uh-huh. You mean like in my own research, in my work? Okay, so I'm kind of split in between academy and also artistic research. Uh, And balancing both of them could be hard because in academia, you have a responsibility. In art world, in the artistic research, you also have a responsibility, but you are much more free in terms of your interpretation, your approach to things. But I think this could be something to apply to academia as well. And things are changing. I don't know. Maybe not to sound too ambitious. Maybe we can at least contribute to this change, this paradigm shift. In our own cultural cocoon, so that it can turn out to be a global thing. This is actually why I emphasize so much about the feelings, because before I start researching something, I follow my emotions. If an image captures me, or if a keyword captures me, for example, epistemological sensation is such a great concept for me because it evokes different things in my mind. I'm more stuck in the intuition and sensation part and the feeling part. And then I move from there. I try to understand what other people think about it. Like, what are the subtopics? What are the different approaches? What are the different interpretations? And yeah, and I never forget, in the end, all the information comes from a human. Either, Deleuze or Kant, or I don't know, someone who is ordinary that I'm chatting on the street, you know. And I don't like labeling people. I don't like labeling thoughts. I don't like. For me, the most important thing is if the information creates a feeling within me, if it still resonates within me. So this is my approach actually to my research. Feeling. Thank you.
So I guess we are closing this session now. Thank you, Ozan. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And tomorrow we will have the workshop of Oğuz Bal and Eti Castellano. I pronounce it really good. Yes. So Trouble Market. We can also meet there if you want. It's in 1 p.m. European time, 3 p.m. Turkish. Okay? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Çok teşekkürler. Thank you so much everyone for joining, and see you later.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Ah, bitti.
Evet. YouTube'da hala acaba bitti mi çıktı ya? Ben de hep buna bakıyorum.
Ama konuşmaktan yoruldum, o yüzden bitti. Yoksa çok zevkliydi.
Evet, çok güzeldi. Bence de çok güzeldi. Hala canlı yayındayız.
Okey, süper. Yoruldum, iyi ki bitti. Yani ne diyeyim? Yoksa
Keşke
çok keyifliydi.
bitteydi canlı yayın.
I'm realistic.
Çünkü canlı yayını durdurmadılar. Are you still broadcasting? Yes. Yes, so I'm living here, Ozan, because
Okay.
live.
So let's leave them alone.
Bye.
Bye bye.